segment, and we will be hearing very shortly from Reverend Mari, who is here from our UCC Justice Witness Advocacy Office in Washington, D.C., and we welcome you again. We apologize profusely for not giving you the kind of contact information so that you could let us know that you were lost, so we could have come and found you. But we are grateful that you did find your way, that you pressed your way, that you were encouraged to continue your journey until you got here. So we are going to turn the mic over to you, and you have about 20 minutes.
Thank you very much, Pastor PJ. I am delighted to be here, and I would be very hard put to try to cross the Sonoran Desert, because if I cannot make it here from about 10 blocks away, I don't think that this is, God might have called me to Michigan, but she forgot to give me a map. Well, I'm delighted to be here with you nonetheless, and I realized that Thanksgiving is not until next week, but I thought I'd start with a Christmas story that you're very familiar with. So I'm going to be reading from the Gospel of Matthew. It says, when the Magi had departed, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Rise, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt, and remain there till I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." And he rose and took the child and his mother by night and departed to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. I think it's very significant that, at least according to Matthew, that the earliest experience in the life of Jesus were to be born a displaced person, followed by exile. Joseph may have joined a caravan to travel in safety, maybe, but we can't begin to imagine how perilous a voyage it was to cross the Sinai Desert with a newborn baby and the woman who gave him birth. Jesus was born in a manger and became a fugitive and an immigrant. At that historical time, he was of no account, totally disposable, vulnerable to the whims of rulers and the cruelty of men. 2,000 years later, many of God's children continue to be held of no account and must flee tyrants, famine, violence, and desperate poverty. All over the world, people like Mary, Jesus, and Joseph are forced to migrate through dangerous wilderness, vulnerable to the perils of the journey. Some brave the seas in rickety crafts. Our Haitian sisters and brothers have perished by the hundreds and thousands trying to cross from their island nation. Others defied the hazards of the desert on foot, and again, many perished in the crossings. Instead of being honored for their bravery and tenacity, thanked for their back-breaking work, migrants have become scapegoats for the economic crisis of recent years. Chased out of town by punitive laws, apprehended in raids in many recent years in workplaces, incarcerated without access to legal counsel, deported to places very far from their hometowns. Migrant families have been torn apart and forced to live in the shadows. This is a great moral issue that our churches must discuss and work to overcome. I think that I would like to share briefly with you my experience as an immigrant, which was very different. I am a Cuban American, and I came to the United States when I was 13. We Cuban Americans are a privileged immigration because the government of the United States did not like the Cuban government. They still don't like each other very much. But all of us who became the first wave of immigration, we were welcomed with open arms. We were given immediately, the appropriate immigration papers so that we were not undocumented. We received every possible kind of assistance from the government. And we were allowed to stay. I never missed a day of school. Allowed to work, given a social security number. And I can tell you that the Cuban American migration is probably, very probably, one of the most successful immigrations in the history of the United States. The generosity of the federal government and the support that we received allowed all of us, the children, to go to school, not pick vegetables on some field, and the adults to try to learn English. They were encouraged and received all kinds of support to start businesses, small little bodegas, but that's how we all started. And there are 2 Cuban American senators, one Republican, one Democrat, and we have done very well. In my family, everybody has a college degree, and we're first generation. I think that that's a contrast to say this is what happens when you welcome an immigrant and you give them a basic assistance, not anything that extraordinary, but the support that people need when they're trying to start out in life. Let's see. I wanted to mention a couple of things. I think that there's been so much good stuff that has already been said that it's time to say, okay, this is what happens when you get somewhere late, All the, a lot of the good stuff's already been said by all these other brilliant people, So, well, we do what we can with what we got. So I wanted to tell you about the work that we do in Washington, D.C. For immigration. We have our office across the street from the Capitol, a beautiful building built by Methodist women when they were fighting prohibition, or they were supporting prohibition. But to this day, not a drop of wine can be drunk in that building. So, but we all of us who work in the 2 Methodist buildings, and it's a very ecumenical place. We have not only the Methodists, of course, but the Episcopal Church and the United Church of Christ and Church World Service and everybody. There's 2 buildings full of faith activists that can be mobilized in an instant. And we're mobilized a lot. It's been, the past few years have been really challenging. What happens is that the work of coalitions is
in all of the different areas, but probably in no issue area as engaged as in Immigration Coalition. Even the Catholics joined us on that one. And they are very, very good on the immigration issue. And there is what is called the Interfaith Immigration Coalition that works on all of the issues and does a lot of work on the state sites in the different denominations. And we are, like everybody else, addressing not only the issues of legalization, which I'm really hopeful. I'm really very hopeful. I think that that remains a very important goal for our newly re-elected president, and we're going to remind him of that over and over. And the presidential program that around the DREAM Act is incredibly valuable. And while the Senate was supposed to take a vote on the DREAM Act, and it was the most pathetic thing I have ever seen. They voted not to vote. And you could see, and all of a sudden, you had all these kids that had come at a great sacrifice to come and just plead their cause in front of these gentlemen and ladies. And they just decided not to address the issue, which was incredibly painful. And I have to tell you that every once in a while, you know, our role as people of faith. I remember I was just surrounded by these kids, and and we just said, okay, and we just, just started to pray, and it was prayer amidst tears and songs, and it was so powerful. And I have said, we cannot leave these young people without a path so that they can become all of what God has meant for them to be, and that they can go as far as their strength and their energy and their passion will get them. And we were on our way on the DREAM Act, but it needs to go much further. I think that I'm pretty hopeful that immigration is going to be part of the second term of this administration, and I think that the work of organizing that takes place through folks like all of you that are obviously, you're doing all of the work right here. You know, you're the first responders a lot of times. But I am very happy to hear how much advocacy work is being done. The one thing that all of us have is the opportunity and the power of our citizenship, and we can go places where others can't. And if you knock on the door of your elected representatives, they have to see you. They might not like you, but they have to see you. But that's okay, so you don't have to like them either. But there is, and I hear this over and over and over, that the work that those of us who are on the Hill do is limited. And I know that because these folks are trying to deal with, 100 different things at a time. And there's one group after another that's knocking on their doors. But when those folks are at home, when they come for the frequent breaks that the Congress has, is probably the best and the most important time to schedule a visit. Because, first of all, they're always running for re-election. Doesn't matter, by January of next year, they're going to start running for re-election. And they want you to like them. Because if you like them, you might give them contributions for their campaign, and you may, have your picture taken with them, and you might vote for them. So, and there's a lot of very good people in the Congress, I love to pick on them. But there's a lot of good people there too. But become best friends with the people that staff their home offices. When you do, I don't know, different churches do it differently. People write letters after church in some congregations, but just knock on the door. Go visit your congressional representatives and speak to the issues, not as somebody, and I'm glad to be able to represent, I'm honored to be able to represent the United Church of Christ when, and because the one thing that is really important, and I'm really glad that there's some people here to know this, that whatever issues we care about, I can only advocate on issues that the General Synod of the United Church of Christ has resolutions about. I not only appreciate, but really commend the Unitarian Church for that.
Excuse me, the lady to your left is also working very heavily in Arizona. Sister Bernard, very heavily. And so I hope that after this time you can have a conversation.
That would be really good. We have a very active church in Sahuarita.
Yes, that's where we are.
That's where you are.
Yes,
Randy
we
Myers
are.
Church.
Randy Myers, and
Randy.
we are chartered out of his church, the
Are you?
Samaritans.
Oh, you're the Samaritans.
Yes.
Oh, of course. We started putting together a UCC table for immigration. Yeah, the first person I picked up the phone and called was Randy, of course. And
He's been many times to Washington.
oh yes, I know.
Small world.
Yes.
Yep. We've done a lot of work together, and we'll continue to work together.
He's
So-
a great guy,
He's a wonderful guy.
isn't he?
He's a wonderful guy.
Can we fill some questions then?
Yes, absolutely. Don't give me a microphone.
Dr. Morrison?
So I'm very proud of what the president did by way of executive order. But I'd like you to speak to how is it also not true that our president, we have to hold his feet to the fire, is it not true that he has done he has ordered, under his administration anyway, more deportations? Under
Absolutely.
this more deportations than Bush. And so how do we account for that? What's that
Oh,
about?
I think that you keep raising that. That this is an issue. I think that I don't want to try to figure out why the administration has done whatever they have done. It's been dreadful. And there's been a lot of some of the stories, like, I don't think I have to tell you that, of the different raids that have left innumerable children left behind who their parents have been taken up.
But you feel hopeful.
And
I want to hear that hope, because
Okay, let me tell
I
you,
do.
that I have this theory, okay, that hope is the child of the coming together of faith and love. That it is when we put our faith and our love together that hope is born. I think that if I read, and I don't necessarily, I mean, you know, I don't necessarily read the situations in Washington better than anybody else, 600 miles away. Okay, but I think that sometimes people act like, you know, the toughest guy in the neighborhood. And that may give them the opportunity to do some other things. You know, this is, you know, well, this is just a hunch on my part. I have no, but that, and we'll see. We keep on, you know, we've heard it, and we've heard it again, and we heard all kinds of talk about immigration in the past couple of months. So now it's time to say, okay, let's do it.
Have another question here?
Seems to me like there's a lot of power that's been thrust on your group. And that would be in the form of the stats that came out of Florida. The increase of the Latino community that supported President Obama.
Yes.
Not only did they support him, it was a huge increase, percentage-wise. I hope that doesn't go away in anybody's minds. I'm sure you can use that to some of your good for some pressure maybe to put on them to help reconsider some of the ideas that they have put on us so far.
Well, I'm happy to tell you that President Clinton won Miami-Dade County. So a lot of people make a lot of noise, and a lot of people just vote. So, you know, I think that there's change. There's change. I think that we have a generation, my parents' generation, that came from such a deep well of grief that were not able to get over that, and in some ways they were hardened in their own positions.
It also seems to me that Mexico doesn't seem to fit the criteria we're recruiting on. Your story indicated that you came from Cuba. Some people would call that boat people that somehow got across, whatever way. A communist dictator country, which we didn't like very well. We were afraid of them back in the Cuban Missile Crisis. And also we had boat people come from Vietnam.
Right,
after the
and
war.
Haiti.
And Haiti. Mexico just doesn't fit that criteria. We just need to change Mexico. Then they'll be more acceptable.
No. I always, you know, even when looking at the reality of this horrible wall that we have, you know, in our southern border. I mean, I'm an environmentalist, and I'm a bird watcher, and I am horrified by that wall, what it's doing just to nature. And of course, you keep saying these are floodplains in some areas, and we've already seen in a lot of border towns this, you know, when the rains come, they come and they come hard, and the little rivers that are used to this overflow. So it's an obscenity. That wall is offensive.
Do we have other questions? Other questions? Well, Reverend Murray, you got the lion's share of the, of this opportunity, and we are very, very happy that you were able to make it. We want to thank all of the panelists. One had to leave, but we want to thank all of you for taking the time to come tonight to present some awesome information. And we look forward to making the information that you have made available to us here in Lansing across the nation at some point, and that we will have continued conversations, and that we will, now that we have been put together by divine order, we're going to stay together. How about that?
All right.
How about that?
All right.
And all of us are going to come right out there in Arizona with you, Sister Bernard. With you
You're
and
all-
your husband.
you're all
We're
welcome.
just gonna all pack up and come
Come
out there
visit.
with you.
We'll take you down to the border.
Yeah, there's this particular sheriff in
Oh.
Arizona that I really would like to have a face-to-face talk. You know, I have a few things that I'd like to say.
He doesn't listen.
Yeah, but I can say it, you know, to make me feel better.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please feel free to call Pastor Tom Jones, Justice and Witness Advocate, area code 517-231-3304. It has been a privilege. It has been an honor to be in your home today, and we hope that you will join us again on other occasions. We look forward to visiting with you and hope you will include in your daily prayers. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you, Deacon Sims. Thank you, Sister Kendra. Thank you, Dr. Melody. Thank you, Reverend Sharif. Thank all of you for spending this time with us together. Until next time, serenity.